thanks. So it's 4:32 and we'll convene the meeting. And I just want to take a look. How do I have the agenda up? Oh, I used it as my Zoom link. Jean, can you make me a error?
Yeah. Okay, all set.
I'm going to open the agenda. Right. As you know, the first item on the agenda is called order, which we did a minute ago. The next item on the agenda is to accept the agenda with any amendments that are needed. Does anyone have anything to add to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for its approval.
So moved.
Thanks, Barbara. And a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jean. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from November 3rd's meeting. Thanks, Patricia, for doing those minutes.
Make that motion to approve.
Thanks, Jean.
Could I just add a comment here for the minutes on the for the last meeting there? It had on that what I had said for you know, no big deal, but it said that I had for the recommended letter asking them to promote the survey to members, and I hadn't mentioned anything about the survey in regard to the letter. So that's why when I had looked at that, I was surprised that it said that. I mean, I had talked at length about reasoning behind a letter to the boards and direct departments and so forth. And I hadn't mentioned survey at all. I just, mentioned in regard to any questions that the board may have had or thoughts, comments, and needs, but nothing at all about surveys. So that's why I was a little bit surprised when I had seen that.
I think the revised letter does mention that. If you want, we can take a look because I can share. But I think that came up in our discussion, and I think that is why it is part of the minutes. Here's the draft letter as revised, and it has the preamble about why it is that we're reaching out to the boards and discussion about the survey. And the point was made that if we get the letter out by before now, basically it was supposed to go out the week after we met, that we would be able to ask the boards to promote the survey when they next met. Now we've lost most of November, but hopefully boards can still promote and consider this letter during the December meeting, which we'll discuss later. But I think the minutes were accurate. Does anyone else have any comments on that? Do you remember it differently?
I'm not sure if there was did someone second the motion to approve the minutes?
There wasn't a motion. There wasn't a second because Joe had was I think requesting an amendment perhaps, although I don't know that we need to amend because I do remember this being an accurate summation of the discussion.
Well, my point is that I had not mentioned the survey whatsoever in regard to the letter. So this is why, I mean, when Patricia made the minutes, that's why I was so surprised to see that. because I mean, if you go back and play the Zoom recording, you can see everything that I had said, and there was no mention at all in regard to talking of the survey.
So not just you, but did no one mention the survey in our discussion? I have to admit, I didn't go back and review our recording, but I do remember our discussion thinking that if we got this out to the board soon, that they would be able to discuss it and get back to us and also talk about the survey. I mean, this was one way of getting word about the survey out.
Well, I mean, like I say, I mean, I had not mentioned the survey at all in regard to the discussion on the letter.
Are you requesting that the minutes say that Joe did not say that about the
No,
survey,
no,
or that you didn't discuss it at all? Because I remember discussing it, and I think that's when Patricia put it in. But maybe I'm wrong. I was not surprised to see it in the minutes because I thought that that was a summation of our discussion. And the minutes can say that you didn't make that statement, but I think the minutes are not specific as to who said what, necessarily, just summarizing our discussion.
Okay, if you read the last line of the minutes in regard to what I had said, it said blah, 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 asking them to promote the survey to the members. And that's that is not what I had said. I had not said anything about using the letter to promote the survey to the members.
I would then request, Patricia, that we amend the minutes so that the sentence reads, the committee discussed a revised letter to all board and commission chairs asking them to promote the survey to members.
What does it say now? I don't have it in front of me.
I have it in front of me. It's under number 7. And it says Joe Agley submitted a revised letter to all board and commission chairs asking them to promote the survey to members. The letter was approved by the committee.
Does it not say that in the letter?
No,
Does the revised letter request the board chairs to promote the survey?
Let's go back. This is really so not important. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
I really want to get back to the minutes, but the truth is that Barbara retyped the letter, right? So, I think that it's fine no matter how we say it. Patricia, how about this? Joe Agley submitted a revised letter, period. The letter was approved by the committee. Is that okay with you all? I mean, is that fine?
It's busy work, unnecessary busy work, but I'll do it.
Okay, so your minutes, because we've gone over this in my conservation commission, your minutes should say, the minutes were amended to say, Joe Agley submitted a revised letter, period, leaving off the remainder of that sentence.
When I get around to it.
They'll just be in the minutes from this meeting. That's what you'll write.
Okay.
You'll write in the minutes for this meeting under number 3.
7.
Approved
Oh, number
minutes.
3, sorry.
I will entertain a motion to adopt the minutes as amended.
So I made that motion and then Barbara seconded it. Oh, I'm sorry.
To adopt
Sorry,
the
because I
minutes
did
as
not.
amended.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I will make that
it's out
motion.
there. Thank you, Jean. Barbara, do you want a second? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries.
And just a
Let's move on.
suggestion for future, to make this all simpler and cleaner, what I've seen is when someone wants the minutes corrected, that you just say, you know, under the minutes, this number, it should not, it should say, you know, this should be taken out, or just be specific to the minutes so that it would save a conversation kind of thing. That's all, just a suggestion.
Next item on the agenda is public comment. There are no members of the public present tonight. We will move on to old business. In terms of the environmental scan, so I know you said that you sent something out last night. I did not receive it. I don't know if anyone else received it.
Okay,
No.
all right. Something is seriously wrong with the way that that I'm not able to send out communications to the rest of the committee, because I had used someone else to send the same document to, and they had received it. So I don't understand what's going on.
What was the email address that you used, Joe?
I used, okay, I used a Google document, and then I had sent out individuals. I did not send it to the ARPA committee, townofkent.org. I sent it out to each member of the committee's individual email address, plus a different person email address. The different person ended up getting the email, but the rest of the committee was not able to get the email that was shared
I got an
What I
email
would-
today.
last night.
Yeah, 22 hours ago, it says. Yep.
I didn't get that.
Nor did I.
I mailed it out to every member of the committee, to Patricia, to Connie, Treasurer of Town of Kent, Matt Starr, and First Selectman of Town of Kent. I
Okay,
did not,
the document I have says that it went to me, it went to Braga@gmail, it went to First Selectman, and it went to Matt Starr. Those are the only 4 addresses it's showing on mine.
so you did receive the document then?
I did,
Okay, then I don't know, understand why the others hadn't.
because their names aren't on here. Who's Braga@gmail?
That's
BRAGA.
Patricia.
That is part of mine, but it's not my whole. That's
that's
not
why
the
you didn't
correct
get it.
email address.
Right. So that's not right.
I suggest, Joe, that
Yep.
you use reply all to the notice of meeting that comes out and see if that goes through to everyone. Because that is, if you reply all, you will hit everyone who received the notice of meeting. I'm assuming
Because-
you got that.
The work that I'm doing is not getting out to the other members of the committee. And
Well,
I've
it's in the-
tried,
We know-
It's in the Dropbox. I'm seeing it in the Dropbox or the shared file, I'm sorry.
Drive.
well, I don't
Which-
understand.
Barbara, did the
Barbara,
town
which
email
town is it?
addresses include the CT at the end?
Hold on. Yours did, but no, yours and mine did. So you should have, oh no, yours says Fit Selectmen. So it's FITSRS. So that's why you didn't get it, Jean.
That's not my email address.
Right. And it looks like Patricia's email is truncated somehow. It's not her full email. Connie's not on this at all, but Matt Starr is.
So that's,
That's why.
Again,
you didn't get-
what I would suggest, Joe, is responding, just replying all to the notice of meeting, because you won't have to retype anything that way.
Right.
And you'll know that the addresses will be correct. Barbara, I don't, what is the document that, did you add the document that Joe sent out to the, to the Google Drive? This document
He
here.
updated it. He just used the
This one
same,
here
It's the
It's
same
not.
document, but it's updated, like there's more on the bottom of it.
This one that my cursor is on right now, the October 20th.
Let's see. No, it's a Word document. It's not a PDF. So,
So I just want to share, I don't really think that we need to focus on the environmental scan tonight. The idea is just to make sure that we know what other towns are doing. And what I wanted to call your attention to, in case you did not see it, is that shortly after our last meeting, the town of New Milford had a town meeting where they were able to approve the allocation of just over 3 million of the 7.9 that was coming to them. And here's a list of what it was going to. I think ours is going to be different, obviously. This is New Milford, maybe, the horse that's out front in the race. But it did remind me that we ought to move as expediently as we can in this work, to have them already know all of this, is interesting. So this document is basically, I took what Joe had written, I put it in alphabetical order by town. I supplemented it by a few things that I've seen in the newspaper. So what we have here is the 17 area towns from Barkhamsted to Woodbury. So
Could I ask a question on some of the work that the other towns are doing? It kind of brought up a question that that I don't know if Kent has this system in the town government here, but some of these towns that have made a plan and are ready to have approved the plan and submitted it to the voters in the town through a town meeting. They have to the voters in the town have to approve the usage of these funds through a town meeting, and it's stipulated in the town charter that they have to do it that way. So what I was wondering is, does Kent have that same requirement in the town of Kent's charter, that the voters of the town have to approve a large spending amount if the Board of Selectmen approve it?
So Kent is not a chartered town. We're
Oh.
a statutory town. So that's sort of a foundational difference, but there are certain things, and I'm going to hand off to Barbara here because she's the subject matter expert, that go to a town vote.
So first of all, the only time a town vote is required is when you're spending town money. So this isn't town money. This is federal money that we're spending. So we don't have to take these expenditures or distribution of this money to the taxpayer.
Well, the reason why I asked it is because these other towns, and I believe Litchfield and maybe Woodbury, and there's some other one too that I had read, that regardless of the setup of the town government, it had to do with the amount of the money that was, in other words, if the money was like, say, anything over $50,000, it immediately triggered having to have a town government or town meeting done. And that's not the way Kent is set up.
Kent is governed by state statute, and because we are an ordinance town and we go by state statute, any expenditure or budget transfer over $20,000 does require town approval. But again, this ARPA money is not town taxpayer collected money. It's federal money from the federal government. So those rules don't apply to the ARPA funding. And I think that's sort of a discussion that is out of our purview of what we need to be doing anyway.
Yeah, just as a quick reminder, just to bring us back in, our job as a committee is to make an assessment. And so I think this is kind of outside of the scope. The environmental scan is useful. It's useful for us to collect information so the town has it, and it's useful for us to be informed by what other towns are doing. But what we here are doing is making an assessment through a survey and focus groups, and perhaps information from town boards on what the needs of the town are, and then passing that with recommendations along to the first selectman, the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move us on to the next item on the agenda, which is focus group planning, but I think that discussion would be informed by 5C, which is a check-in on the survey and the letter to the town boards and commissions. Because I think it was our aim that survey would have been out 2 weeks ago, or at least a week and a half ago. And is it out yet? Is it?
No, it's actually going to go out in probably the next hour. Things have just been busy, hectic here. I apologize. I also had really just a tough time getting it into the paper version. The SurveyMonkey has a tool, but it only does a marginally good job turning it into a paper survey. So I had to do a lot of reformatting of the paper survey. So those copies are made and they'll be at, I'm sorry.
I thought that our idea was that we were going to publish ASAP regardless of whether the postcards and the paper copy were ready. That what we really wanted to do was make that link live and push it out as soon as possible.
Yeah, so
I think
that's my fault that I thought the paper copy needed to be going out at the same time. And it's just been super busy and hectic here, but working on it right now.
So with that in mind, because when the postcards get mailed, there'll be a week, hopefully if the survey link is tonight, maybe we'll get our first respondents tonight, but we're a week before Thanksgiving here and the holidays are going to kick in. And, just as far as informing, our discussion about the focus groups, we've got the dates of January 22nd and 29th tagged for the focus groups. Would like to keep those dates. I think that the survey, though, should remain open till the middle of January, just so we can get as many people as possible. And the holidays are a suboptimal time to send out a survey. We're going to get hammered for our timing on this if we don't leave it open for an adequate amount of time. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I think it is going to make us hustle at the very end in preparation for our focus groups, because we won't have the opportunity to really talk about how to integrate the data that we've collected until, hopefully we'll have some, but we won't have it all until maybe the week before the first focus group. It's going to cause some scrambling on the other end, I believe. So you want to go?
Yeah, I know I've asked you before, Jean, about if you need any help or anything like that. I mean, I'd be willing to help you. You mentioned paper copies or anything. Is there anything that I could help you with in regard to that?
The form, I finally finished the formatting and all the copies are made. I just have to bring them over to, bring them downstairs and over to the library if you'd like to come pick them up and bring a stack over to the library tomorrow, that would be great.
Okay, I could do that.
Okay, I will have them here for you all in an envelope to just walk over to Sarah.
Okay, so these would be upstairs at in the first selectman's office?
Yeah,
Okay, I can do
I
that.
just look at my schedule, and I have a bunch of Zoom meetings in the morning, so I will be, as you see me, for much of the day tomorrow.
Okay,
So come on up and, we'll make sure that we hand them off.
like around 10 o'clock, would that be a good time?
Sure,
Okay,
thanks.
all right.
Jean,
Okay,
how
great. And
will the
so-
survey go out tonight?
Constant contact, and then we'll link it over to the town Facebook page, and then it gets shared out to the community page.
And the constant contact is the same one that the newsletter and community conversations goes to?
Yep, it's about, I think it's a little under 1,400 email
Great.
addresses at this point.
Great.
So we can all look for those links, forward emails, share social posts, just make sure that, you're talking about the survey and encouraging people to fill it out. And now the town letter to the boards. And I refresh my memory, like, what did we decide in terms of how it was going to get onto town letterhead and distributed to the boards?
So I put it on town letterhead. I had to do some reformatting because of the town letterhead, but we also are going to have at least a couple of new chairs for boards. So we just have to, I can send it out to the email addresses that we know aren't going to change, but there are, some, obviously P&Z is going to be a different address, but we'll hopefully find that out tomorrow night. There were a number of BOE
before
has,
tomorrow. When does the actual changeover happen? Is it in January or is it now?
so per statute, all of the newly elected officials took office yesterday on the 16th. But like the P&Z, there is in effect no chair right now. So they'll pick a new chair. Board of Ed, I don't believe they've assigned a new chair yet. So some of them, there will be a little bit of staggering as far as the person to send it to.
Do you think that it would make sense to write in the email when, so are you going to distribute it then, Jean? And would it make sense then to write in the email, please confirm receipt of this letter so that we know that the boards have it? Again, the timing is unfortunate because had it gone out, I don't know, it's what we're dealing with. But
And a number of the boards did cancel their November meetings. So it's just a tough time of year. But it's up to you. If you want me to give you the list of email addresses, so it's coming from you as the chair, we could do that.
that's fine. I don't mind.
Okay.
Do you think you'll have that for tomorrow?
I should be able to send it tonight. Because
Okay,
the
great.
letter's all ready to go. Let's see if I can sit here and do that while we're talking.
Okay, super. All right. So then, having talked through that, what do you think that we can do tonight with respect to focus group planning? One thing that I thought that we might do is figure out what the schedule of them might be and what we want in terms of facilitation. I do think that it makes sense to have, to buddy up, so that we have one facilitator, one note taker maybe, but, at least two of us from this committee in each focus group.
That makes sense.
You know, I've facilitated before, so I do not mind at all playing that role in one or more of the focus groups. But I think that if we can map that out, that might be a good thing to do. I think otherwise, you know, it might make sense to start making a document where, you know, we can have our wish list of people that we might think were important for the focus group, as well as people who have volunteered. Already let us know that they want to be part of a focus group. So that would be a good thing to begin to map that out. If people need to be invited, it would be good for them to know right away, you know, that what date we have chosen for that focus group. Good. So,
Would it be a good idea to kind of do a follow-up with some of the people that are in the focus groups, just to see, you know, like if they're still, you know, to let them know what the date is going to be of the group, and just to kind of, you know, to touch base with them and to find out if they're still, you know, interested in going to this group, and, you know, just touch base with them to find out, you know, what's going on and so forth. I mean, does that make sense?
I think it's too early to do that. I think maybe a little bit further down the road when we have a little more information, so we can give them a bunch of information at once.
Yeah, see, I was thinking like kind of like having a I'll call it a memo or something like that sent to these people, just to let them know that, you know, that we're you know, we're doing this. Hi, you know, how are you? We're doing this, and we're still you know, doing this. In other words, short and sweet, just to have like a, you know, a note sent to them.
you know, I think if we can get to the point where we are ready to invite certain people, that will be the same thing, because we will be reaching out to people who have volunteered to say, thanks for volunteering for this focus group. We have scheduled the focus group for January 22nd at this time. We hope that you will be available for it. You know, here's some information, please let us know. And so, you know, I think that kind of is the same thing. You know, as long as we are making progress towards that, we should be able to do that, you know, really soon. Took a look back at Patricia's
And
note.
Barbara has, when people volunteer to participate in a focus group, Barbara has sent all of them an acknowledgement of their offer already, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes,
Hello?
I've been reaching out to people as they
Yeah,
have been reaching
so
out to us.
yeah, so that sort of covers it also.
So, you know, with no particular order, unless you think that we should, you know, I went back and, or just now, just kind of mapped out on a piece of note paper. You know, we could take, you know, taxpayers / residents, and retail and restaurant owners and the Zoom, for example, on January 22nd. And then we could do nonprofit service providers and social services providers on the 29th.
Seems reasonable.
That's different than I remember from the last meeting. I thought we were going to do all of them on one day, the 22nd, and the 29th was
You're right.
You're right.
You're right.
You're right.
That was the snow day, the 29th.
correct.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you. going to be a long day.
Well, that's why I put in the minutes. It will be a 4.5 hour long day, which isn't that long. If we run two simultaneously, one upstairs, one downstairs, as we discussed in the last meeting. That's 1.5 hour time period in which two focus groups are done, a little break, another two will be done in an hour and a half. That brings us to 3 hours. And the last one would be the Zoom version for another hour and a half. So 4.5 total.
So like, what if we did a 10 a.m. session? That would take us almost to noon, take a break for lunch, 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Would that work?
So two from 10 to 11:30, break from noon to 12:45, 1 p.m. to 2:32, and 3 to 4:30 the Zoom. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, but take a look up on the share, Patricia, for a moment. Did we have 5 groups or 6 groups with the Zoom? I don't remember which of these 5 we knocked out because of the Zoom. So I felt like maybe we were doing 6.
Taxpayers, retail, restaurant, nonprofit, service providers, and social services providers, and clientele, if clientele were willing, were the 5 groups. I don't think we eliminated any of them, which means it would be 6.
Yeah.
So 2, 4. So 3 to 4:30, we have 2, which means it's all 3 sessions, 10 to 11:30, 1 to 2:30, and 3 to 4:30 will be 2 simultaneously run focus groups.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the focus groups that on TV. There's one that Fred Luntz does that I've seen, and they kind of at least the ones that I've seen, they have like a I don't know, they get information like a background information. This way here, when they're talking to the person, they know a little bit of their, like, say, I don't know, where they work or what they do for a living or so forth. This way here, it kind of sets up a conversation for when they, like a one-on-one conversation when they're talking to the person for, so is that something that would be done in these focus groups?
Do you see what I just highlighted? This is Patricia's advice that yes, we should prepare a series of questions. Focus groups are usually pretty scripted. So I was talking about maybe having the survey results, and we won't have the results, all of the results until shortly before we meet to be able to confer as a group and make sure that we have something that we're ready to present before we start asking questions. So I guess that's a long answer to your question, Joe,
Yeah,
which is, yes, we will have something for them to look at. It asks open-ended questions. It's an opportunity that is that expands upon a survey, but that doesn't mean that you don't exercise some control in terms of what it is that you're putting out there to people and what it is that you're asking them to respond to.
Yeah, I think that at the beginning of the focus groups, you go around the table and ask everyone to introduce themselves to the group, which gives them the opportunity to choose how much or how little they want to reveal about themselves to this particular group. I don't think we need to collect data or resumes or CVs or anything from the participants. I think we could rely on them to say, I'm here because of this reason and my background is this, or, people leave people free to make the choice of how much they choose to reveal. That Luntz guy is particularly and only a political focus group person. And I'm certain that for the TV cameras, he chooses his participants carefully so that it's TV worthy. In our case, I don't think it's necessary to have backgrounders on our participants. They'll tell.
Patricia, you're on mute. Did you still?
Okay, so I was saying that I think that people, when we begin a focus group, you go around the room, the table, ask people to introduce themselves, why they signed up for this focus group, etc. And people will reveal how much or how little they want about their background at that time. We don't need to have resumes or CVs or in-depth backgrounders. I was saying that Frank Lutz guy is strictly a political focus group person, and he does it largely for TV cameras. So in that case, he has a different let's say goal in mind than we do. So it behooves him to have a little background on his people to make sure that they will be let's say TV worthy. So our goal is different than that. So I wouldn't think anything more than their willing introduction is necessary.
Yeah, see, maybe, maybe I didn't make myself clear enough, but I was thinking in terms of like an icebreaker conversation with someone, kind of to get them to feel more comfortable and, because some people, they may not feel comfortable or whatever. So that's why I
So
was
take
thinking
a look at what I just decided, which is Patricia's recommendation that the first question be something unrelated to COVID, just to get the conversation rolling. So it's been a little while since I've come back to this document, but I remember Patricia feeling quite comfortable with your ability to design our agenda. I think that can come later, but obviously, what you're doing focus group wise, and I'm glad that we have you on the committee for that.
I said from the beginning, I'm hardly an expert, but I've attended a few, and I think I know how to put people at ease and make them feel comfortable sharing their views with us, and I'll do my best. But I think an off the cuff kind of opener, I think I suggested, like, if you could go anywhere on vacation today, where would it be? And let people say, I don't know, Rome or Paris or I don't know, Las Vegas, wherever they choose. And that sort of breaks the ice and you get to know a little about a person from that kind of silly question, and then break into the more serious questions. Doesn't have to be that exact question about vacation spot. That just happened to be on my mind the day that I wrote that thing for you guys, but it could be anything like that.
For sure.
You know,
So,
do you
so
have a dog? What is your dog's name? Or do you have a pet? What is your pet? It could be anything.
Mm.
Just an
I
ice.
think that we can build the agenda as we get closer to the date. I think that some of our initial survey results will help us to formulate what those questions or those subject areas that we want to ask about are. And I think they may be different depending on the actual focus group. So I don't think we should bog down too much in that right now. Take an opportunity to review this document, which is in the Google Drive. You know, when you get a chance, as well as the switch back into the Drive, as well as this document here about conducting focus groups. You can also remind yourself of the individuals who are interested in participating.
And Jean sent out something interesting to me this week that someone is providing, I think it's free, if I read it correctly, Jean, a webinar on how to run a focus group, which I think would be interesting for any of us, all of us to
My worry,
participate.
sorry, I'm having, there are a couple Board of Finance people flowing in for the meeting. My only caveat was, I hope that it's not specific to it's like a mental health, the organization that it came from was a mental health organization. So my hope is that it's not specific to that. It didn't look like it. I can resend it to everybody.
Okay. Are you depressed?
Right. So like
Yeah,
how to
no.
run that specific type of focus group, or is
Yeah.
it how to run a good focus group, which, so I would hate for, you know, multiple of us to invest the time into going to that webinar.
Yeah,
But I was thinking,
sorry
maybe,
about that.
Tricia, because you're like the key person, but I can forward it to everybody if everybody wants to take a look at it and decide for themselves.
Sorry, Jean, I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. I was just trying to, because I really wasn't sure if it was the right, you know, if it wasn't going to be a waste of people's time. I wasn't sure, but I can certainly,
It may be, in which case any of us could watch it if it turned out to be good. So
true.
there's a plus when you watch a recorded webinar, you can watch it at 1.5 times speed, and that makes it go by a little.
I'm forwarding it to the group now.
Patricia, I'm wondering, can we lean on you to facilitate at least one, if not more, of these groups?
Yes, yes.
How many are you willing to do? You can only do up to 3 unless you can clone yourself.
No, I think we should have 2 sets of 2 people to do all 3. Because if we try mixing up the people too much, I don't know. I mean, we want some degree of consistency across focus groups, so they go efficiently, and we have the same questions and similar answers to analyze. So I think it would be good to create 2 separate teams, and, you know, could be, if Jean wants to facilitate, we could share it. I mean, I don't care, but I was thinking that it should be if you are willing to facilitate because you've done it before, Connie, could be you and Barbara and me and Jean or something like that as the facilitator and the person who keeps everything on track, takes notes, whatever. So I think a 2-person team is the right number so we don't overwhelm participants.
I certainly am willing to do it and have done it before. So, you know, unless somebody is burning to be the other facilitator, I'm willing to do it.
Yeah, and if someone wants to do it instead of me, I'm happy to share the load. But, you know, I think that the 4 of us could manage it. I mean, it's a one Saturday dedication, but we signed up for that kind of when we signed up for the committee. So, Jean, Barbara, what do you think?
I think it sounds very reasonable.
I can, you know, I can team with, you know, I'm in for anything.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it can be a nice back, if the rapport is nice between the 2 people that are running it, that sort of spreads to these. So it
Yeah.
can be a nice, easy back and forth, nice conversation kind of thing. So, and then, you know, the 2 teams could practice to get a little together to make
It's a good
sure
idea.
that they have their tone and their groove,
Mhm.
you know, the way they want it. So that seemed right to me.
Okay. I have Patricia and Jean and myself and Barbara. I also have easels, lots of them, if we decide that we need them for the notepads. You know, I don't know if, you know, maybe we want to get a couple. I usually use those big staples.
Sticky notes.
It's like an easel pad that's also a sticky note.
Mhm.
So that if they're going, but whatever, we can get to that later.
Yep. We have at least one easel here.
Mhm.
Oh, I have a ton of easels. Well, not a ton.
Yeah.
But I have 1 standing easel and 2 big tabletop easels.
I have like 7 standing easels. They all fit in my car. So if we need them, we can have them.
Where were you when I needed them?
Well, we can do like Pictionary.
Now next year. Okay, so I guess the only other we're bumping up on 5:30. We did want to maybe talk about a communications plan a little bit. Before we leave focus groups, do we want to get into, you know, who we want to invite yet, or do we want to maybe, you know, create a document where we've got these categories of who the focus groups are, and we can start plugging some names in rather than, you know, just be free for all? Okay, I'm getting a lot of agreement with that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
so-
it's best that if someone sets up a template on the Google Drive, then people can go in and add names of people they think of, and then we review the list at the meeting.
Okay, I am good with that. Okay. Anything else on the focus groups at this time? Okay. All right. So the last thing on the agenda under new business is a communications plan. And I think that we put this on because we were, you know, we were anticipating the survey being released. You know, we knew that it was going to go out, you know, with the town e-news and on social platforms. We knew that we were going to have communication with the town boards. And so there was this idea of Do we need to do a press release or anything else that helps to communicate the fact that we're doing this survey and that there will be focus groups afterwards? And there is also a web page, of course, on Arpa that people from the town can visit. So I guess, what do we think? Is there enough there yet to do a press release? What are other ways that we can make sure that people know that the survey's out there and we want them to take it?
I think the press release should come after the survey is launched and after the postcards go out. So we can refer to both of those items and then list where they can get the survey, and then also provide information of how they could sign up to be in focus group.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, because there's really nothing concrete to kind of say right now. So to have a press release go out, it wouldn't make sense. That's my opinion.
Okay, and I think it can be really short. It can almost be like, pretty much the text of the postcard, as long as what it is, it has a headline. If you can picture the spectrum, just a single paragraph, but a headline that really directs people to the fact that this is happening. Maybe a picture of our postcard too, so that people know, so that image is recognizable, because the more I find that the more different places that you see something, the more likely you are to do it.
That's a good idea, that repetition of the visual. So when it hits their mailbox, they'll already know.
Okay, so
And we
I
could
can-
bring
I
a
can-
stack, we can bring some postcards, Jean, to the senior lunch on Friday.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea.
Why don't I draft a basic presser? It's not going to be anything, phenomenal, novel. It'll just be really short and sweet, just to go out, once we know the postcards have been mailed and the survey is published. Is that good?
And the survey's
Okay.
sitting in the town hall lobby and the library.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think that takes us to the end of our agenda. The question is, I put that the next meeting was December 1st. And that's what I know we all want. My question is, do we propose a meeting for next week, but only if the survey and postcards have not gone out and lettered to town board? And that way, I'm recognizing the reality that busy people sometimes do things when, there is a meeting on the books. And I don't want it to be the case that this goes another 2 weeks, and I do not think it will. But if
Yeah.
we do the magic, putting a meeting on the agenda for next week, will we make double
Like
sure?
incentivize Jean to make that time. I'm literally in constant contact right now, typing up just a little bit of content.
Yeah, and I cannot do a meeting next week on Wednesday anyway.
Okay, here's the deal, guys, then. Meeting is on December 1st. However, if it gets to next Monday and things aren't out, I'm just going to warn a special meeting. Is that okay?
Yes.
That way,
There's my-
we're not really scheduling a meeting, but we are putting the onus on ourselves to make sure that this progress happens and that we're not waiting until December. And I know that it won't, but that's the magic of weekly meetings for me, is that they really make you prepare for them. But December 1st will be our next. And hopefully at that point, we'll have our very initial surveys coming in. And so that'll face, and we'll have maybe some, some things to talk about that way. We will continue to plan our focus groups. We will continue to keep an eye out for any information that we are seeing in the papers about other towns and what they're doing. And we'll go from there. Good.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you all so very much for your time, and happy Thanksgiving.
And you as well. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And you'll see that email tonight.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.